name is Jaden Duane. Today is Thursday, January 14th, 2021, and this is my show, Join the Discourse. It's episode 10, finally double digits, which is pretty dope. Finally got some legitimacy, I guess, finally getting up there in the episode count. We got a whole lot more coming, so please follow me, subscribe, etc. Just stay tuned. We got a lot coming. So, premise of the show is to join the discourse, which is a conversation of sorts. And so, to have a conversation, generally speaking, you need about two people or more. It's kind of hard to have just one person unless, if you want to join the discourse with me, you can join my Discord server. It's at jd-originals.com, right on my homepage, along with this live stream, streaming straight from YouTube onto my homepage. Join if you have anything to say. On Saturdays, you'll be able to join with your voice straight into the live stream. You can stream yourself in the live stream. You can also send a message in that server. You can also just send me a DM, comment in this stream right here, wherever you're watching, or send an email at jaden@jd-originals.com. I'm going to be on the lookout for all of that, so please join the discourse with me. Today's topic is handouts. It's a bit of a lighter topic, lighter than what I've been talking about lately, lighter than what's been in the news lately. Like, talking about insurrection. I don't even know where we are now, but it is a lighter topic again, but it does have pretty heavy political and social implications. And so overwhelmingly, people denounce handouts. We say that they don't need them. We say that, we just need to work harder. We talk about pulling yourself up from your bootstraps. This comes from neoliberalism. All of this sentiment against handouts comes from neoliberalism and capitalism. It's the same thing as saying pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. These are arguments for capitalism, libertarianism, and against social welfare programs. And so clearly it's deeper than just handing something out or receiving money. So what even is a handout? Among families and friends, it's usually just some sort of giving a help or an advantage to an individual. Maybe your friend needs a job and you have a connection that they might be able to use. And that could be considered a handout, just giving a hand up or a hand, literally hand out, like it's a helping handout. I guess that's where it might come from. If your friend needs some money, lending them that money and just helping them out. Some consider your parents helping too or paying wholly for college. That could be a handout. Some say parents helping for a car or gas money, stuff like that. Even paying for insurance sometimes, which I feel like that should be pretty standard if you're raising children. You got to pay for their health. But people across the board publicly oppose these handouts, even though we participate in them constantly. And that's a point of hypocrisy that I want to point out, because it's typically rich, elite people, politicians, business people, etc., and their children, their families who denounce these handouts, and they tell normal people that they just need to work harder. But those wealthy people are engaging in handouts constantly through examples like generational wealth and the laws that the government provides them that enable generational wealth transfer. So that might be when maybe some father, he owns a business and he hands it down to his daughter, and that daughter now is a millionaire and doesn't have to work a day in her life. I don't know why. It could be son or daughter, mother or father. It doesn't really matter. But that's the example of generational wealth. But also forms of handouts could include tax cuts and other things of that sort. But that's a different kind of handout that I want to jump to now. So that's handouts from the government. Handouts from the government are a form of using politics to give help to a group of people. And so we can give help to the wealthy, as we just talked, using laws that enable generational wealth transfers, and also tax cuts and more stuff like that. Those are forms of enabling the wealthy to increase their wealth. And this is socially and politically allowed, not only allowed, encouraged. They're typically given to the wealthy, who are typically white. Not always. There are, black people who receive handouts in this form. There are brown and Asian, and all different types of people across all different sorts of spectrums who engage in these sorts of handouts. But another way of handing out through the government is giving help to not the wealthy, but to the regular people or the poor people, the working class. And that could be found through things like universal health care, through stimulus checks. That's a big debate now. Through free education, public education, through food stamps and other sorts of benefits like that, through unemployment benefits. Real quick, just a number I saw this morning. Almost 1 million people just filed for first-time unemployment again in the pandemic. And so that's considered a handout. And we talk down on giving handouts like that, even though we're in the middle of a global Freaking pandemic. This is hard to talk about sometimes. Let's stay on track. And admittedly, regular people, working class people, poor people, people who aren't wealthy, we oppose these tax cuts and things like that. That sort of handout to the wealthy. But at the same time, we're not alone because they're opposing handouts to us. And it's more of like a balance and equilibrium. They need to oppose our handouts so that they can have their handouts, you know. So in order to do that, they have the most power in society, and therefore they have the power to receive their handouts and then tell us to work harder and to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But where did this double standard come from? Like, why does it even exist in the first place? Well, I think that this double standard was developed to argue two things. One is for capitalism and neoliberalism, by the wealthy, for the wealthy, right? And the second is against social programs. Notice that I didn't say socialism or communism because in this capitalist system, those are totally disregarded anyway. And so these arguments, this double standard, isn't used to argue against communism, socialism, because those are so far out of reach in this like right-wing society we live in. It's for capitalism and neoliberalism, and it's against social programs. And I say social programs because those are just forms of helping people within a non-socialist government and economy. I think that this double standard is used as an argument against helping people who have been subjugated to exploitation and expropriation by capitalism. And so this form of pro-self-determination, pulling each other up by the bootstraps, is really, in my opinion, symbolically pro-liberal capitalism and also symbolically against helping the subjects of capitalism. In other words, black and brown people who have been hurt, killed by this system through slavery, mass incarceration, elitism and class division, labor in general. And so through class division and through political propaganda and through legislation, etc., they being the government, people who are have a vested interest in us thinking this way about handouts and about helping each other and about social welfare and stuff like that, they've convinced us across the spectrum, across party lines, across the political spectrum, across racial and ethnic lines, across state borders, that receiving help and helping each other is a bad thing, or that it's only for the weak or something like that. And that's just not the case in my opinion, because I think it's our civic duty to help each other as citizens. But not only that, it's our human duty to help each other as humans. And so rather than exploiting each other, looking for ways to put each other down for our own profit, and voting to not help the disadvantaged, I think that it's been time, but I think it's just a call to action now. It's time to start looking for ways to help each other, to not bring each other down, and to bring equality among unequals, even if that means sacrificing excess resources like money, food, etc., so that other people will have enough just to survive and be self-determinant. Because that's the thing. To tell people that they need to be self-determinant, hardworking, pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and then to deny them all the resources they need and the stability they need in order to be hardworking and self-determinant, that's an act of evil. And it's an act of evil that the United States government has engaged in consistently, not just consistently, but constantly, and everlasting. It's not stopped for a moment. And that's what, the civil rights movement and the Black Panther Party that fought so hard against, and were largely unsuccessful in that respect, honestly, because those movements were organized around bringing equality for all working class people, especially bringing equality for Black people as a self-determined group. But here we are 50, 60 years later, 70 years later, and we're at the same point in history, essentially. And so before I head out, I've just got a few questions for you. Is there a difference between government handouts and personal handouts? If so, how do you feel about each? If not, or if so still, how do you feel about handouts in general? Do you receive any handouts or any financial help? Maybe do your parents help you with paying for college or paying for other forms of education? Do they help pay for your transportation in some way? Or maybe it's not your parents, maybe a mentor or some other helpful person or helpful agency, an organization helps you. Do you reject handouts? Do you think that it's all on you and all on your hard work? And if so, why? Why couldn't you receive help? And conversely, could you help others still? These are the kind of things that I'm thinking about. And so if you've had anything to add, this is Join the Discourse. I'm going to ask you to join the Discourse. You can join my Discord server. Let me know what you think. You can email me, jaden@jd-originals.com. You can send me a DM, all of that. Remember, you can always listen back on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. You can play back on Periscope, sorry. And lastly, check out my YouTube channel. You'll be able to see past episodes of Join the Discourse. You'll be able to see past art videos that I've done, as well as other live streams and live stream events coming up this year, like when I'm premiering new artwork. So other than that, I'm going to see you next time. Make sure you tune back in on Saturday, 9 a.m. I hope you'll join the Discourse then, and thank you for watching.